木个能吃些个毛个，大汤进来养几个，地能吃的些个金养有个什么个的，老人地就是这得肉养一句，地选就弄地能把都个。
开始，小毛子，小毛子，小毛子，小毛子，走。
Pema Tseden was a visionary filmmaker who made significant impact on the culture of cinema not just in Tibet but throughout the world. He was a proud advocate of Tibetan culture and identity, which was reflected in many of the films that he's made. With his own unique storytelling style, Pema Tseden explored the complexities of modern Tibetan life on the plateau, from its traditions to its struggles with modernity. His films were deeply personal and often tackled important social issues such as the preservation of language, culture, the clash between tradition and modernity, and the effects of rapid urbanization. In October 2005, when I was preparing to start my film studies in South Korea, while in Busan, my professor told me that I should meet this Tibetan filmmaker who was visiting from Tibet. At first, I thought my professor was joking because up until then, I had never met or even heard of a Tibetan filmmaker from Tibet. It was Pema Tseden that I ended up meeting that year when he had come to Korea to present his first feature, The Silent Holy Stones, at the Busan International Film Festival. Since then, I've had the privilege of meeting him a number of times in different places, including in New York, where he spent a few months studying English. At each of these meetings, he was excited about sharing what the Tibetan film colleagues and students were doing in Tibet, and shared short films and other materials produced by a new generation of Tibetan film enthusiasts and cineasts from Tibet. Pema Tseden not just made his own films, but was also passionate about inspiring and helping younger Tibetan filmmakers explore the field. My own interactions with Pema Tseden has inspired many of the projects that me and my colleagues here in Dharamsala are working on. Despite working in an area of the world where there's strong censorship and political pressures, Pema Tseden remained committed to his art and continued to make powerful films until his untimely death.
So please give a warm round of welcome to Pema Tseden.
Over the years, what we observed was that Tibetan youngsters and aspiring filmmakers were looking up to particularly the work of Pema Tseden in their study of creating their own unique Tibetan storytelling style and narrative. What we observed was his films would be the most highly anticipated films of our festivals. And over the years, we've seen Tibetan youngsters, particularly film students, film enthusiasts, filmmakers themselves, or Tibetans who are interested in storytelling, in cinematography, in all the aspects of filmmaking, would really come to study his films, not just as audience members, of course, to be entertained, to be transported to a different world that is a uniquely Tibetan world, but beyond that, to actually study how he was able to create these worlds in his films. We noticed our audience members paying very close attention to and discussing for days afterwards that feeling of being seen, of being heard, of resonating with this story that seems so close to home. And for many in our festival venues who have never seen Tibet, have never been to Tibet, have only memories passed down to them from their elders, the closest they could get to actually being in Tibet. And so Pema Tseden's films really played this dual role of not only inspiring and encouraging and pushing Tibetan filmmakers and film enthusiasts in the diaspora to make better films, to pay closer attention to their craft as filmmakers, but also as audiences to develop a love for cinema, to fall in love with Tibetan films, with Tibetan stories, and to see it up on the big screen. So in this way, Pema Tseden has really had an unimaginable impact in the course of Tibetan cinema, and I think we are yet to see the full sort of legacy of his work, because it lives on in every Tibetan filmmaker, in every Tibetan who comes to watch a movie, who engages in the art of film appreciation. And there is no doubt about it that Pema Tseden has had an invaluable role to play in encouraging Tibetan youngsters to take up films. And to be honest, his legacy lives on in every single Tibetan who picks up a camera to tell a story, and also every single Tibetan who comes to watch a Tibetan film, who shows up to support filmmaking endeavors and artistic endeavors all over the diaspora. Having said that, we know that he's still with us, his work lives on with us, and the next generation of Tibetan filmmakers will take his work forward. So yeah, it has been nothing but a pure honor for us and a privilege for us to show so many of his films at our festival venues all over the world, and to be and have been all inspired deeply, deeply by him.